abroad. Joining us now is Democratic Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi of Illinois, a member of the House Intelligence and Oversight Committees. Thank you so much for being here today. Man, oh man, when we take a look at that report, it is troublesome, of course. Congressman, the New York Times reports that efforts by China, Iran, and Russia to spread disinformation have grown and grown more sophisticated in the last 8 years. Troubling for sure, but what do Americans need to know about what's happening and how we can protect ourselves?
Well, I think, first of all, I'm glad that you are talking about this. This is so important. Unfortunately, we learned in 2016 that Russia extensively tried to interfere in that election. But since then, other foreign adversaries have joined the fray and have done so in a more sophisticated manner than they used to. Iran and China, notably, have perfected certain ways of using deep fakes to try to make it seem that someone is saying something or doing something when actually that person had nothing to do with it. So I would just ask all of our viewers to view all this with the type of kind of informed suspicion that you might when you see something that doesn't look right, and obviously bring it to others' attention and try to question the source as to whether or not it's true. Don't jump to conclusions, though.
Right. Well, there's a report that cell phones belonging to Trump family members and Biden aides have been targeted by hackers linked to China. So there's another thing going on, and it's unclear what, if any, data was taken from those individuals. So what do you make of that story that we're hearing today?
I'm very concerned. So this was called Operation Salt Typhoon. And basically what it did was Chinese government affiliated entities hacked into telecommunications networks, mainly in the Washington, D.C. area, and then targeted high-level persons as well as influential, non-governmental folks who might have some influence on China policy. They included, among others, former President Trump, as well as J.D. Vance, but also people affiliated with Kamala Harris and others. And so, now obviously we're trying to figure out, exactly what was taken, but we think that some unencrypted communications may have been accessed by the CCP. And so I think all the people that were affected are being informed, and obviously measures are being taken, countermeasures to make sure that they are aware and that no further information is taken from them, and then to try to figure out what was taken.
All of this is just so disconcerting. I mean, we've already got enough to worry about, and then you hear these reports. We've also seen reporting that some of your fellow members of Congress are seriously concerned about the potential for violence after the election. So how worried are you about potential unrest? Are you hearing anything? Is there anything you can tell us?
I'm concerned. I think that the rhetoric especially kind of contributes to this atmosphere. And, the attempted assassinations on Donald Trump show that, political rhetoric can quickly turn into potential violence. And so that's why, we are asking everybody, people like myself and others, are asking others to condemn political rhetoric or violent rhetoric of any kind. And so Brett Wenstrup, a Republican from Ohio, and I have introduced a resolution to that effect, and I'm hopeful that others can join as well. But just looping back to a subject we talked about earlier, which is foreign actors kind of sowing discord, trying to create confusion, trying to create, schisms or divisions, further divisions between people, can also help to escalate that rhetoric. And we have to be on the lookout for that as well. I would like for the big tech social media platforms to help police that. They have done a decent job in the past. I'd like them to continue those efforts now because we just don't want a situation that could get out of hand.
Absolutely. And I mean, we're going to be out there coast to coast covering everything that happens during the election and post-election. And we know that a lot of police departments are ramping things up. But what steps are being taken to head off any potential chaos after Election Day? Because you've got people look, you mentioned social media. You turn on social media, you go to Twitter or X, and you see that people are driving down the road and they're yelling at people with, if they've got somebody's sign in the window. I mean, it can get really, really ugly out there. What's being done to tamp down the potential chaos?
Well, I think that one of the things that I'm glad the U.S. Capitol Police is doing is they are, taking extra precautions now in light of what happened on January 6, 2021, to prevent something like that from happening again. I think that's very appropriate. I would just ask again, I just reiterate that regardless of whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, if you're an elected official of any kind, to always, tell your supporters and others, keep the rhetoric down. We can all disagree without using, the type of rhetoric that could quickly kind of metastasize or morph into something worse. I was in line the other day at my local precinct doing my early voting, and I saw some of this venom, being expressed between people in line. And you just don't want a situation that could get out of hand. And I think that we want to have these elections in a way where everyone can participate and feel safe doing so, regardless of who you are. And so let's just be very careful about the language we use, even as we might have spirited disagreements on policy.
I'm glad you said that. And for those of us that are out there in the world, especially reporters, we see it. And even what happened in Houston, I'm sure you've seen that clip that went viral of a woman yelling at a toddler in a stroller at a rally in Houston. It was awful. And you watch it and you go, what would I do? Right? You think about what you would do if you had your kids there. Everybody just needs to be cool moving forward.
That's right.
Let's turn to the campaign trail now. I want to ask you about this because Vice President Harris and former President Trump are making their closing arguments to voters at this point. Do you think that Harris accomplished what she needed to with her speech last night? We've been watching Trump as well today. How do you think it's going?
I think she's doing very well. I was actually in Pennsylvania campaigning for her in Pittsburgh. And I think that people feel like the energy level is very high. Of course, Democrats' enthusiasm is off the charts. But even aside from that, what we're seeing is that she's really working it. She's getting out there, meeting people who perhaps are undecided, trying to make the case. I think people feel really good about what they're seeing. All that being said, we have 6 days left, 12 if you don't sleep. And so it's time to really go all out and pedal to the metal at this point.
All right, pedal to the metal. I agree with you. And we're going to be out there coast to coast with our cameras talking to voters. Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi, thank you so much for being here today. Always appreciate it.
Thank you, Laura.
Good to see you. Good to see you.